This was a great game the first time we got it. It'll be a great game this time around. You got the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. Oregon, Ohio State. Ohio State, a 2.5-point favorite, 5 Eastern, ESPN. Now, I want to put a pin in that intro really quick. When I was a kid growing up in Southern California, for Christmas one year, I think my dad got him through work maybe, or maybe it was a gift from someone else that he knew that was unable to go. Anyway, we went to the Oregon-Ohio State Rose Bowl with Jeremiah Masoli on one side, Chip Kelly as the head coach for Oregon on that side, Terrell Pryor as the quarterback, like Jim Tressel. It was awesome. I'll say this too, Ohio State fans, they traveled for that one. I remember watching that as a kid and being like, dang, how far is Ohio from California again? This is like, there's a lot of red in this stadium here. Obviously, Oregon will show up. It's a West Coast situation, but I don't expect it to be like a massive home field advantage necessarily for the folks rolling in from Eugene. With that out of the way, for Oregon, man, you got to prove it. We're telling stories from my childhood in this game breakdown, but so be it. As a kid, whenever we played the basketball shooting game horse, you get to that last letter, and to ultimately win the shooting game, you had to prove that you could make the shot you just made for a second time. That's Oregon in this spot. You beat Ohio State during the regular season. It was a phenomenal game. It showed great poise from Dan Lanning. I think it was a we're here kind of moment for his program. But like, if you want to be who you believe you are and who you say you are and who we all say you are, you got to prove it. Got to make the shot a second time. You got to beat Ohio State. For Ohio State, man, this game is played on New Year's Day. Going to be one of the most electric atmospheres of the entire playoff. New Year, new Buckeyes. That's what it has got to be, man, because there was a bit of just bad vibes, honestly. We've said it a few times, but I want to just double down on it. Like, there's been bad vibes for the Buckeyes since that Michigan game. There's probably some bad vibes coming out of the Oregon game with everyone talking about Will Howard and him sliding too soon and Ryan Day being out coached. Like, I do think that this game being played on New Year's Day is kind of a funny microcosm of where Ohio State believes they are. I think they flushed all that out of their system with the Tennessee win. I really do. I'm not telling you the Tennessee win is the end-all, be-all for them. Obviously, it's not. They want to do a lot more than just beat Tennessee in the college football playoff before they're all said and done here. But, like, I think that kind of gave them a new lease on life, because you can believe something internally, but until you actually prove it to yourself in a tangible situation, until you actually, like, look at what just happened on the field, you watch that tape back and say, actually, yeah, we are one of the best teams in America. Actually, our talent did translate there. Actually, we did physically dominate them with our offensive line being reshuffled. I think that matters, and I think that's going to cause Ohio State to bring their best and then some in this spot in terms of their overall preparation and output in this game. College football sickos, make sure you are subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. On this show, The Hard Count, it's college football, nothing but college football all year round. Now, this show is brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. Daily fantasy, easy to use, easy to play, easy to withdraw what you win. Follow us here. Use code HARDCOUNT at PrizePicks.com. We're going to do our very best to make us all some money. Now, even if we don't, when you play with code HARDCOUNT at PrizePicks.com, make yourself $50 in promo funds to then go ball out the rest of this playoff. So again, code HARDCOUNT, $5 in lineups, gets you $50 in promo funds at PrizePicks.com. We appreciate y'all subscribing. We appreciate y'all using that code with our friends PrizePicks. Now, does Ohio State bring their best from a performance perspective? Remains to be seen. The game flow in this rematch is going to be really intriguing because the last time we saw these teams play, it had a very video game-like vibe to it. You know what I mean? Like, you and your boy are playing college football 25, and it just kind of comes down to who has the ball last. Now, funny enough, it came down to Ohio State having the ball last. So, that kind of is what it is. But the point remains the same of both quarterbacks went for over 300 yards. Both teams went for over 30 points. Do we see that again? And if we do, I think at that point in time, it comes down to which quarterback do you trust more? You take Dylan Gabriel, the Heisman finalist, who has a body of work that I think speaks for itself, or do you take the quarterback in Will Howard, who's coming off of Ohio State's arguably best offensive output of the season, where he's running it, he's throwing it, they're being aggressive, they're taking shots downfield, they realize Jeremiah Smith is really freaking good yet again in Columbus. Like, is it that kind of situation? If it is, I think it's a toss-up. Like, we could see, I think, a very similar game like we did in Eugene, where it's like, who has the ball last? Can they finish? Can they make the field goal? they slide too early? Do we get a 12-man on the field kind of checkers over chess or chess over checker situation? Remains to be seen. Like at that point, it truly is a toss-up. Where this thing gets interesting to me, what if both these DCs just say, man, forget all that noise? Like last time was last time. We got a full 4 quarters of tape on you now, plus the rest of the season. Like we're ready for this one. We're ready for this one. Oregon in this game last time averaged 10 yards a pass, 5 yards a carry. Ohio State averaged 7 yards a pass, 4.5 yards a carry. Who has a better survival kit if things get gross? We talk about this a lot on this show. Who's able to just play the more rock fight, muck it up style of game? If you're Ohio State, you say, we got the best backfield in America in Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins. I don't think you're wrong. Your offensive line concerns me a little bit, but I don't think you're overall incorrect. Oregon, it is fair to say, too, the last time they played, I don't believe they had a scoring drive when it comes to, this touchdown scoring drive that was longer than 7 plays. What if Ohio State just says, if you want to beat us, great, you're going to have to go 10 plays every time? Caleb Downs, Denzel Burke, Igbinosun, they remember getting embarrassed last time. They're not letting that happen again. It's not going to be a quick strike situation. You got to drive the field on us. I wonder if that's the way that this game goes. And if it goes that way, I'll say this, I think it could favor Ohio State because of the aggression from the defensive line with Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, the backfield, Will Howard, all these things. I think that honestly would be a situation where Ohio State would win this football game. Now, I'll say that, and then I'll bring you this question with it. How much do we think Ohio State emptied the clip against Tennessee? Like, was that Ohio State's high point this year offensively? Or was it like okay, we're kickstarting and we're just getting rolling here? I think for Oregon, I would be much more worried about them matching up with Ohio State if Ohio State had kind of limped through that game against Tennessee. Maybe they win by a field goal. At that point in time, I'm like, hey, I don't know if Oregon's taking them all the way as serious as they should, which sounds funny when Dan Lanning's the head coach. But like you feel the weight of perfection, I think, a little bit. And I think you also look in the mirror and say, we beat this team last time. They just limped through a Tennessee team. Like, okay, bring it on. I think Ohio State body bagging Tennessee the way they did puts Oregon on high alert. And I think for Oregon, quite frankly, they thrive on being on high alert, if that makes sense. Like when they're in fight or flight, they're at their best. The concern, if you're an Oregon fan, would be that wasn't your approach in this football game. You say, Jody, but it's a playoff, and, Oregon not squeaked by, but they beat Penn State, probably not by the margin they would have liked to beat Penn State by. That's all true, but again, I really think that the whole you got to beat a team twice is difficult. I think that's a fair thing to say, but I also think that for Oregon, their coordinators can be ready. I think Will Stein will have it dialed in, and I think at the end of the day, man, Oregon is just so poised. They're so poised. I think Oregon, at the end of the day, makes the play to win. I think it's close. I think the Oregon offense puts together a nice little drive at the end of the game. I think they kick a game-winning field goal in Pasadena with the oil painting on the mountains as the sun sets. I think Oregon wins the football game 31-28. At that point now, if you're Oregon, you haven't, won the national championship yet, but you have once again passed the most difficult roster test I think you're going to have this entire way. So obviously you got to handle business. You got to make sure you stay on your P's and Q's. But I think for Oregon at that point you say, okay, yeah, we really are that good. Yeah, there was nothing fluky about the first time we beat these guys. Yeah, we actually are one of those teams now that you're going to have to see here the rest of the way. They already feel that way, but to do it for a second time, the confidence for Oregon would be through the roof. And the Ryan Day conversation, we'll get some juice to it in terms of like what happens next for him. I don't think it's a situation where Ohio State says, thanks, but no thanks, Ryan Day, you're gone. That would not be the world you live in. I think it is possible that Ryan Day says, forget this, I'm going to the NFL, I'm going to be a coach somewhere else or what have you. But I don't think it's a Ryan Day's on the hot seat conversation. Just wanted to touch on that because I know there will be some Ohio State discussion if they lose this game around Ryan Day and his job, but I don't think he's nearly in the hot water he would have been had they lost to a Tennessee. But again, we'll take Oregon to win. By them being the underdog, we'll take them to cover. And does it have something to do with the sweet Kobe cleats they're wearing in this game? Maybe. I'll leave it at that.